Visit the VIP Club at 973ESPN.com to win concert tickets, gift cards, and more. Powered by Shore Medical Center, healthcare at its best, right here in Summers Point.
Shore Medical Center is proud to serve the community, both as a provider of high-quality patient care and as a supporter of many local organizations. Organizations like the Veterans of Cape May and Atlantic Counties, the Summers Point Police Department, the Summers Point Business Association, and many more have saluted Shore Medical Center for its ongoing support. Shore Medical Center is recognized as a top performer by the Joint Commission, the only hospital in Atlantic and Cape May counties to receive an A safety score from the Leapfrog Group, and the first and only hospital in New Jersey to earn the prestigious Plane Tree designation. And take it from patients like Ken Mosca of Ventnor, who contacted Shore to let them know of the amazing care he received for his knee replacement surgery. Shore Medical Center, because your community deserves the best. For more information, visit shoremedicalcenter.org.
25 past the 1 o'clock hour as we are coming back at you live inside the all-new Mercedes-Benz Atlantic City Studios, a Thursday edition of the warm-up. Half an hour to play with. Rich Quinones, PG will take you up to 2 o'clock straight up. And we'll get to some of the text messages as well. Switch gears a little bit. And we'll get into a little baseball talk. Pennant races heating up. And what's interesting is you look at, again, we thought about some of these usual suspects in baseball and a boatload of surprises. And to help us break down some of these hot pennant races, Steve Gardner does a great job covering baseball for USA Today. Kind enough to join us, as he does every week, for a couple moments on a Thursday. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm doing well. It's always good to talk with you. All right, we'll keep it in our backyard for a moment. And about a month or so ago, a lot of people, myself included, were just wondering why the Mets didn't go after the bat that they needed. And obviously it falls into place because they get Cespedes. We mentioned the trade that didn't happen for Flores. And now all of a sudden the offense is – there's no weakness in this offense. I mean, they're just absolutely hammering the baseball. Yes, I get it. It's against the Philadelphia Phillies. But how about the Mets and this offense coming back to life, and now you get David Wright back?
Well, and it's not just against the Phillies either. They've been doing it all month, it seems like. And I think the Mets have the highest, the most runs scored and highest OPS of any major league team since the 1st of August. So, yeah, everything has just gelled, and you have to give an awful lot of credit to Cespedes and how he's just seemed to revitalize that offense with just his presence there. So, yeah, you add David Wright back into the mix, and all of a sudden this Mets team has a look of one, with their starting pitching that's so good, of a team that could make some noise in the playoffs.
Since July, well, if we go back to July, last in runs, as you mentioned, batting average and OPS. Since August 1st, first in runs, fifth in batting average, second in OPS. So you were dead on with those stats. It is amazing, too. And there's really not a weakness in the lineup. There really isn't, because now you can rely on guys like Kadire coming off the bench, and they're contributing.
Yeah, I mean, you could say maybe second base is a little bit of a liability, maybe defensively, or first base with Duda out, but he's going to come back soon. And yeah, once you get that lineup all set and everybody healthy, it's pretty scary too. And we haven't even mentioned Michael Conforto, who's come up out of the minor leagues and done awfully well for a rookie, thrown into that playoff pennant race kind of fever. So, yeah, this is pretty impressive. I guess the only thing, maybe the back of the bullpen might be something that would be a concern for the Mets, but right now they're clicking on all cylinders for sure.
Yep, go for I believe it's 7 in a row in a a very rare 4-game sweep. They've owned the Phillies this year, so the Mets are certainly rolling in the NFC. I'm sorry, talking so much football, in the NL East. In the NL East. Let's stick with the NL for a moment, because, and I talked about this at great length the other day, when you look at the Central Division, I mean, it really is amazing to think of 3 teams that are playing such great baseball, but now you can sit there and say to yourself, wow, I'm looking at these guys. I'm looking at the St. Louis Cardinals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cubs. I mean, these 3 teams can win 90 games, and someone might not make the playoffs. I mean, and you look at the St. Louis Cardinals, I still think Pittsburgh is the best team in the Central, albeit I know St. Louis has 80-plus wins. Top to bottom, they have the lineup, they have the pitching, but there's something about the Pirates in my eyes. I love watching them play. I think they're just as good as a home team as St. Louis are, and they're just as solid on the road as St. Louis. It just so happens when you look at them in the standings, they're 4.5 games back of the Cardinals.
Well, and that's the thing, too. You've got the most difficult division in all of baseball. I think it's pretty safe to say that both the Pirates and the Cubs will make the playoffs and will meet in the wild card game if one of them doesn't overtake the Cardinals. And then, that throws those two, the winner of that game probably ends up playing the Cardinals in the first round because they'll have the best record. And, wow, it is just one of those. And they're going to have to face each other throughout the month of September, and it's going to be one of those knockdown, drag-out, heavyweight kind of fights. Battle royal, I think, is you get 3 men in the ring back in wrestling terms. It's going to be nuts, and any one of those teams could come out from however it turns out in the first round of the playoffs, and maybe even be the favorite to represent the National League in the World Series.
I think all three combined, they play 38-something odd times. And you're right, the one-game playoff, I did not take that into consideration. All right, over in the West, the Dodgers. I know every year when everyone talks about the Dodgers, we always talk about the pitching. And it just seems, though, even if they get into October, and right now they have a slim lead over the San Francisco Giants, I just think, I don't want to say they're a soft team, but they're guys you can't rely on come the playoffs. And I'm just wondering, when you look at the Dodgers right now, are they poised for another collapse in October?
I think, there's really no explanation that I can come up with for Clayton Kershaw's struggles in the playoffs the last couple of years. And I still think to have him on the mound, he's the guy that I would want on the mound with my team. And Zach Greinke has been just as good. I think that's such a formidable 1-2 punch. The problem is that you get to the bullpen if you can just hang with them for a while. And the Dodgers, I think, seem to be grasping at straws a little bit with, they go out and get Chase Utley. Is he going to be good enough?
Yeah.
I mean, they need offense, they need bullpen help, and you can only climb on the backs of Greinke and Kershaw so much. And so if teams can hang with them, and you can do that in the playoffs because teams are better, this Dodgers team, I don't know if it's well-equipped enough to make that deep run into the playoffs and to the World Series. So, yeah, I think it's worrisome. And I worry, too, if I'm a Dodgers fan, about Don Mattingly and managing. I think he could get outmanaged when it comes to those crucial pitching change, batting order, pinch hitting type situations.
You mentioned Kershaw, great regular season in-game pitcher, Cy Young Award candidate, Cy Young Award. I mean, the guy's just an absolute stud every fifth day during the regular season. But going back, as you mentioned, to the playoffs, I mean, this is a guy who is 1-5 in his postseason pitching career. He hasn't won a game since 2013, and that was the NLDS against the Braves. And we saw what happened against St. Louis in back-to-back years. He can't. I don't know. He can't figure out the St. Louis Cardinals. They certainly have his number come postseason. I think if it falls on the heels of them, and I respect what you're saying, I still don't trust Kershaw in a big spot in the playoffs. And I think at the end of the day, that is going to be the Achilles heel with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Well, we'll agree to disagree on that. But I'll tell you what, if all the Central teams are facing each other and you get the Dodgers versus, say, the Mets in the division series, you get into the 7-game series in the NLCS, and you get a better opportunity. If you're the Dodgers, you'll have Kershaw and Greinke possibly in 4 of the 7 games. I like those odds, to tell you the truth.
That's a fair point. I'll give you that. I don't know if I can throw out Syndergaard or Harvey or DeGrom or Harvey. That's yet to be seen.
Yeah. That's true, too.
Let's switch gears while I have you for a couple more minutes. AL East, I don't know if you caught most of the Yankees game yesterday and Houston doing a number on them, but I'm watching Joe Girardi late in the game just giving Mark Teixeira an extra at-bat in a meaningless spot, and I'm thinking to myself, that is, without a doubt, something I haven't seen from Girardi since his tenure with the Yankees, a panic move. I don't know if I'm reading way too much into it, but I just didn't see the logic in a game that they had no chance in winning in a fruitless at-bat.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just trying to maybe give Teixeira an opportunity to test whether he's up to close to 100% ability, able to play, whatever. I think it's a good sign for the Yankees if Teixeira can pinch hit, and hopefully he would have told Girardi if he was not feeling up to it. Maybe it was a low pressure type situation before jumping back into it again, in the next game. So I don't know. I don't know that you really need to read in a whole lot. The Yankees have an off day today, so Teixeira can get a little bit more rest. I think he's just probably trying to keep everybody sharp.
How about the Toronto Blue Jays? Now they've surpassed the Yankees. They've won 6 of 7. They only had one stumble against the Phillies, but they had a nice little sweep of the Angels. Looks like they're trying to sweep away the Rangers. I mean, what's been the difference with the Toronto Blue Jays in your mind?
I think really it's Josh Donaldson this year, and just the fact that he's come over there, given them such great defense at third base and such a presence in that offense. It's really a lot of the same guys. I mean, obviously getting David Price at the trade deadline and Troy Tulowitzki is huge, but the Blue Jays were still a powerful team and a very good team even before they made those deals. And then to get those kind of difference makers added on to, the best offense, already the best offense in baseball even before Tulowitzki got there. This is just a dangerous team. And let's not de-emphasize the pickup of Ben Revere, too, who made just a phenomenal catch last night to save a sure extra base hit. I think he gives them solid defense, and another guy in the outfield where they have the depth now that maybe they didn't have earlier on in the season.
It's an amazing stat when you mention Donaldson, and you look at guys like Encarnacion, Batista. I'll throw Martin in there just for the sake of this discussion. But these are guys that have 79, 87, 52 RBI respectively. And then you look at Donaldson, 101. There's a gap right there. And he's got 34 home runs from the third base side. So you're talking power numbers. He hits for average. He's got a good OPS, good slugging percentage. I mean, you're seriously talking about a serious MVP candidate here.
Yeah, I think he's the front runner, and especially, Mike Trout has tailed off a little bit since his wrist injury over the past month, to where Donaldson now is I believe first in WAR if you put a lot of stock in that particular stat, and then the sheer other numbers too. Donaldson looks like he's at this point maybe running away with the AL MVP.
How much stock do you put in the fact that the Kansas City Royals are just kind of running through the Central? I mean, they are coasting. You look at the Tigers, and I know they had the big game pitch last night by Verlander, but they're 17 out. The Twins are 12 out. The Indians are done. The White Sox are done. I mean, we all knew from start to finish it was going to be Kansas City Royals, but the fact that the run differential is plus 80, they won 7 out of 10. They are really just making a mockery of the Central. Is this more of the Central's kind of weak when you look at these guys, or you say, hey, Kansas City is still Kansas City, and last year was not a fluke?
No, I think you have to say that it wasn't a fluke last year, because they're even better this season. The bullpen, which may have been a possible area where they couldn't be any better than they were last year, is probably, you could consider it maybe a little bit better even this year. It's certainly deeper than it was last year. They can go to more guys in more situations, so I think that's a plus for them. And the fact that now, even though he didn't have a good start last night, Johnny Cueto is there to front the rotation, I think it makes Kansas City a very dangerous team. And their best record in the American League is certainly not a fluke because of the way that they're constructed, and now they have that essential thing, postseason experience, on their side as well.
Last one before I let you get out of here. Every year it seems as though everyone's talking about the talent top to bottom with the Washington Nationals, and a lot of people had them running away. I don't know what your predictions were.
I did too.
Okay. You had them in a 90 win clip, right? Probably, and running away with. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, they're hovering right above 500 at 63 and 62, and I know you can talk about inconsistencies and some injuries. I just look at this team. Is there something else going on within this organization where, when you look at them, they have a lot of talent, and for some reason they're just not putting it together on the field? What's the major issue here with the Nationals?
I I can't really put my finger on it, and it's something that I've really tried. A lot of us here in the office have tried to figure out what's been the Nationals' problem, and I don't know. I think what they need is.
Is it a cultural change? Is it an overhaul? Is it just break it down and build it up?
I think they may have overachieved last year, and Matt Williams is somebody who got a lot of credit for that, but is not, a fully formed major league manager. Is probably below average as a major league manager, and the things that they've done have been grasping at straws. They're trying to rejuggle their rotation now so that Max Scherzer faces the Mets when they take them on here in a few days. That seems like a desperation move to me. Just have your best guys, send them out there. And yes, injuries have been a problem and have made it so that they haven't been able to have any consistency. But you can't use that as an excuse when you see what the St. Louis Cardinals have faced all season long. So the talent needs to work together, and they haven't done that. They haven't figured out a way to put everybody together so that you can get the hits together and get people building on each other's performances to pick up momentum. Bryce Harper's been really the only guy that's performed on a consistent basis. And I think the one problem with the Nationals right now is that there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency, or there hasn't been a sense of urgency since the All-Star break that they could see, they should have been able to see the Mets gaining on them, and yet they haven't done anything about that. And all of a sudden, they find themselves 5-6 games behind, 7 games in the loss column, or 8 games now, or no, is it 6 in the loss column now? It may be too late for them to come back, and I don't see, whether it's Matt Williams, whether it's the front office or what, nobody's been able to light a fire under that team and get them to find a sense of urgency, and now it may be too late.
You talk about panic moves. I mean, you mentioned Scherzer, and he's supposed to be on the bump tomorrow against the Marlins. And then again, if you go by their regular schedule rotation, then he would come back and pitch on the road against St. Louis next Wednesday. And then they had that series against the Mets that first week in September. So you look at the Nationals right now, if they stumble on the road against St. Louis and get tripped up even a game or two against Atlanta, and the Mets continue to win, I mean, the Mets could have this wrapped up. Well, I'm not going to say wrapped up, but they can have a real nice, comfortable lead going into their 3-game set, the 7th to the 9th.
Exactly, and the fact that, it just as easily the Mets could sweep the Nationals. I mean, I think the Nationals are planning on taking at least 2 out of 3 and possibly sweeping the Mets and getting back into it. But you're right, if the Mets come in there and continue to be hot the way that they have been for the entire month so far, it could be 3 and out, and it could be see you next year in Washington Nationals.
Yeah, it is amazing when you look at all that talent. And then I'll tell you what, the Mets fans love it because look, I always think it's good. Baseball is always good when the Mets are good, when the Cubs are good, when you have these teams playing good baseball. It's very interesting, especially come the postseason. So as things are starting to tighten up a little bit, but also some of the teams are starting to run away with it. Steve, always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate the insight. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, Rich.
All
always
right.
a pleasure.
Thanks,
to you later.
You got it.